You stayed late on a Thursday and rebuilt the entire client presentation from scratch. You redesigned the framework, you fixed the data, you rewrote the narrative so it actually made sense. And on Friday morning, your colleague walked into the meeting room, opened the deck you built, presented it to leadership as if they had been working on it all week and then got the credit. Nobody corrected the record. Nobody looked at you. And you sat there wondering whether you were losing your mind or whether everyone just watched it happen and decided it was fine. You did not lose your mind. You lost the credit. And you lost it because credit at work does not follow contribution. It follows visibility. There are 5 specific reasons why someone else keeps getting credit for your work, and the last one explains why it happens even when your manager knows you did the work. Here's the structural reason credit theft keeps happening and why it is not a flaw in the system but a feature of it. Credit and contribution are 2 completely separate systems inside every organization. The contribution system runs on effort, who did the work, who solved the problem, who delivered the output. The credit system runs on communication, who presented the work, who summarized it, who named it first in front of the people who make decisions. These 2 systems operate independently, and the credit system almost always wins, because the people deciding your career are not in the room watching you work. They are in a different room hearing about the work from whoever spoke first. The 5 reasons in this video are the 5 specific moments where credit gets captured or lost, and once you see them, you will never let another project's credit flow to someone else by default. Counting down from 5. Reason number 5, you let someone else send the summary. After every project milestone, every deliverable, and every significant piece of work, someone sends the summary. The summary email is the institutional record of what happened, who contributed, and what the outcome was. Whoever writes that email controls the narrative, or because the summary is the version of events that leadership reads, remembers, and references 3 months later when promotion conversations happen. If you did the work and someone else wrote the summary becomes the institutional truth, and your contribution exists only in the memory of people who were close enough to see it happen, which is almost never the people who make decisions about your career. This looks like the Monday you realized your colleague's summary email from Friday had been forwarded by your manager to 3 senior leaders, and your name appeared nowhere in it despite building 80% of the deliverable. The takeaway, the person who sends the summary owns the narrative. Send it first, send it yourself. Every time. Reason number 4, you were silent in the room that mattered. There are meetings where work gets done and meetings where credit gets assigned, and they are almost never the same meeting. The meeting where you worked on the analysis, built the model, and solved the problem was probably a small working session with your immediate team. The meeting where credit gets assigned is the leadership review, the room where the outcome is presented and someone's name gets attached to the success. If you were in the first meeting and not the second, or if you were in the second meeting but said nothing, you were present for the contribution and absent for the credit capture. Silence in the room where decisions get made is not modesty. It is invisibility. This looks like the leadership review where your colleague presented the analysis you built, leadership praised the insight, and you sat 3 seats away saying nothing because you assumed the room knew who actually did the work. They did not. They never do. The takeaway, say 1 sentence in every meeting that has leadership in the room, 1 specific contribution, 1 named outcome. That sentence is the minimum credit capture threshold. Credit is not a reward for contribution. It is a capture event. Reason number 3, you trusted the system to track contribution. Most professionals believe the organization has some mechanism for tracking who actually did what, and that somewhere in the system there is a record that connects contribution to credit and ensures the right person gets recognized. There is no such mechanism. The system does not track who did the work. It tracks who talked about the work. Project management tools track tasks, timesheets track hours, performance reviews track impressions. None of these systems reliably connect the actual contribution to the person who made it because none of them capture the informal conversations, the problem-solving moments, the late-night revisions, or the institutional knowledge that made the outcome possible. The system tracks what is communicated, not what is performed. This looks like the performance review where your manager credited the project outcome to the team in general because the system had no record of your specific contribution and your manager's memory defaulted to whoever communicated most visibly during the project period. The takeaway, the system does not track who did the work. It tracks who talked about the work. If you did not communicate your contribution, institutionally it does not exist. Reason number 2, your manager assembled your reputation from fragments. Your manager does not have a complete picture of your work. They have fragments, pieces of information that arrived through meetings they attended, emails they read, conversations they overheard, and updates they received from other people about you. Your reputation inside the institution is assembled from whatever fragments reached your manager, and most of those fragments were not sent by you. When your colleague mentions their contribution to the project in a casual conversation with your manager, that becomes a fragment. When you say nothing about yours, the absence of a fragment becomes the fragment, and the impression your manager assembles has a gap where your contribution should be and a presence where your colleague's communication landed. This looks like the conversation you overheard where your manager described the project as being led by your colleague, and you realize the reason was not that your manager forgot your contribution, but that your contribution never reached them as information in the first place. The takeaway, your manager's impression of you is not built from observation. It is built from whatever fragments reach them. Control the fragments or someone else will. But none of these reasons compare to reason number one, and this is the one that makes credit theft feel inevitable until you understand the mechanics behind it. The person who names the work owns the work. Every time. Reason number one, credit flows to whoever is closest when leadership looks. Credit is not assigned through a formal evaluation process. It is assigned in a moment, the specific moment when a senior leader looks at an outcome and forms an impression about who was responsible for it. That moment lasts about 90 seconds. And in that 90 seconds, the leader does not investigate who actually contributed. They do not review the project history. They do not check the task log. They look at who is standing closest to the outcome, who presented it, who is talking about it, whose name is attached to the most recent communication about it. And they assign credit to that person. Credit flows to proximity, not to origin. This is why your colleague keeps getting credit for your work even when your manager knows you contributed. Because the credit capture moment happens above your manager at the leadership level in the 90 seconds when a senior leader forms an impression. And in that moment, the person who is visible, proximate, and communicating wins regardless of who did the underlying work. Your manager knowing you did the work does not fix this because your manager is not the person assigning credit at the level where it matters for promotion. The senior leader who glances at the outcome for 90 seconds is. This looks like the quarterly review where the senior vice president praised your colleague by name for the initiative you built, and your manager said nothing to correct the record because correcting it in that room would have been politically expensive and the moment had already passed. Here is the honest closing. Credit theft is not caused by bad people. It is caused by a system that assigns credit based on communication rather than contribution, proximity rather than origin, and fragments rather than facts. The person who took credit for your work may not even realize they did it because from their perspective, they presented, they summarized, they communicated, and the system rewarded them for it. The fix is not becoming louder or more self-promotional. The fix is understanding the 5 credit capture moments and making sure you are present, visible, and named at each one before someone else is. Send a summary yourself before anyone else does. Speak one sentence in every room that has leadership in it. Stop trusting the system to track your contribution. It does not. Feed your manager the fragments that build the impression you deserve, and position yourself near the outcome when leadership looks, because whoever is closest in that moment is the person who gets remembered. Credit is not earned by contribution. It is captured by visibility. And right now someone else is capturing yours. But understanding how the credit capture system works is only half the problem, because the moment you start speaking up to protect your credit, you discover that speaking up in meetings has its own set of structural risks. I break down exactly why speaking up backfires and what to do instead in the next video. Credit is not earned, it is captured. Start capturing yours.